not shoving your head forward, but when you put the other ball there, it's going to start to help you sort of lengthen the base of the neck. It's going to help you nestle your chin into your throat. And at any point, if this becomes uncomfortable, feel free to take it out. Replace it with a pillow, replace it with nothing. But you don't want to be sort of like I am. Don't do as I do, because in teaching you, I have no support behind me as I put pressure from the smaller ball into my forehead. So what you really want to be able to do is rest back and feel that there's a relationship between the two balls as you work. That'll be very important. Okay. So if you're new and you've just gotten a set, notice that this smaller ball, I really like it to be a little bit deflated. I like to be able to pinch it, because in pinching it, I'm really able to make a smaller tool that still has that wonderful soft skin. So there'll be times when you want to be able to do that as well. If any time you feel like your arms just need to just shake out, feel free to do that as well. Okay. So we're going to start. You're going to start by placing the ball between your eyebrows at the base of your forehead. And you're going to start to just use a pressure that I often call insistent, but you're not trying to push so hard that you get really, really tired. You're just pressing so that you feel that the bone itself is being influenced by the ball, as is the ball that's behind you. You're going to hang out there and think about how the ball or the bone felt when you first put it there, and that it's for a sensation of change. And as you're here, begin to imagine a piece of graph paper on your face, so you have some lines to go by. Because we're going to use that graph paper. We're going to stay heavy into the forehead, and we're going to take the ball up about halfway up your forehead. And again, we're just going to sink back with the smaller ball, and again, settle in and feel the shift between when you start and as you stay there. And we're going to shift again into and sink in with the ball. Roll up to the hairline. Now, if you've joined us later, be with your back against a wall or on your back with the ball, larger ball behind the base of your skull. Those of you that are at the top of the center of the forehead, just release the ball and rest for a moment. Shake your arms out if you need to. And make sure you have some sort of support behind. We're going to go to your right eyebrow in the center of the eye and place the ball right at the base of that forehead. I'm going to press in to the skull, to the forehead, and allow the support from the other ball at the back of the head or the wall itself. We never do this unsupported. This is only done now because I'm teaching you what to do and you need to be able to see me. Okay, so we're going to roll from there, the ball up halfway towards the hairline. So we're in the forehead, just halfway up. We're going to roll into that. We're going to sink in, and we're just going to let the ball sink into the skull and change the texture of the bone. Again, we're going to add weight into the forehead with the ball, and we're going to roll up and sink into the hairline. You can always, in the future, make your graph paper smaller and make more stops along the way. But we want to have a nice, thorough sense of the entire face. And then just let the ball release, shake out your arm if you need to. One of those sort of things that you notice as you're doing it, that you get a little bit of fatigue in the arms. We're going to do that same center of the eyebrow on the side. You're going to sink in, settle in. If you feel sharpness in the bone, it's a place you might want to visit more frequently. As you let that area settle and soften, we're stimulating the bones of the skull. Let yourself release into the ball behind you. You're going to roll the ball up half along the height of the forehead. Sink in there. We're going to reach into that forehead again and roll the ball with that weight up and into the hairline. And then we're going to release. We're going to go back to your right side and we're going to go to the inside edge of the eyebrow. We're going to start to do some diagonal lines and we're also going to block with the opposite hand. So as I take the ball up to the inner edge of my eyebrow, I'm also going to block with soft fingertips the upper inner edge of my eye on the opposite side. So that as I roll, I notice you probably can't see me for a second, so remove the blocking eye and just see that as I sink in, I'm going to roll up on a diagonal towards the outer edge. All right? We're making a diagonal line towards the upper outer edge and we will stop twice. So from that inner edge of the eyebrow, blocking with the opposite hand, sinking into that inner edge, and I'm going to roll up and out for my first. As I'm using that opposite hand, you can start to feel that area, the bridge of the nose and at the eye and in the sinus beginning to open. We're going to sink in here again. And we're going to roll up and out to the hairline on the outside, over the outside of the eye. And then we'll release. We're going to do the same thing on the opposite side, inner eyebrow. We'll make 2 stops along that diagonal, sinking in. Our goal is to intentionally move the ball after it has penetrated into the bone. We're stimulating the bone so that the muscle of the face will stick to the skull. I'm going to pin or block the opposite eye, and then I'm going to roll up and out so that I'm over the center of the eye, taking away those worry lines between the eyebrows, this roll. Then I'm going to sink in again. I'm going to roll up and out to the upper outer edge of that hairline. And then I'm going to rest that. Good. All right. We're going to return to the first side. And we're going to take the outer eyebrow, but we're also going to take the outside of the eye. So we're not going to push on the eyeball itself, but it may touch, and that's okay. But we're going to use a softer touch here at the outside edge of the eye. We're coming from face on versus the temple. We're just going to go into that edge. A very allowing sense of pressure. When you're near the eye, feel free to move the eyeball as a way to stretch. I'm moving mine from right to left. And then I'm going to use my opposite hand below the ball. And I'm going to begin to just gently nudge the outer edge of my eyebrow. And I'm pinning underneath while I'm there. I'm spreading that outer crease of the eye. As you get on top of the outer edge of the pressure, if that feels right, and then I'm going to roll straight up that outer edge of my forehead. I'm going to pause about halfway up. And if you feel stress in your neck, replace that opposite hand to the outside to support so your neck does not have any strain. And then roll further up that outer edge to your hairline and sink in there. Then you can release that. Notice what that's done that to your eye. Okay, let's go to the outside of the other eye. Again, start with the soft, allowing, just a suggestive pressure, suggestive in a positive way. Allow yourself to look right and left. We've all been looking straight forward into screens a lot. We need to move the eyeball. And take the opposite hand underneath the ball and begin to feel the up sensation into the outer edge of the eyebrow, away from the cheekbone. And as you get higher with the ball, you can increase the amount of pressure you put into the bone, the forehead. And you're going to roll up about halfway again. And again, if you start to feel that there is a strain in the neck for holding your head central, then use your opposite hand to support the other side of the head. Sinking in there, breathing. And then with that same pressure into the skull, we're going to roll the ball up to the hairline on that outer line of the eyebrow. And then we will release from there. Good. All right, so we're going to come through center again. And we're going to go up while we pin the nose. And then in a moment, we'll go down while we pin the forehead so that we can move past the forehead. All right. So I'm going to start with the ball where we first began, but I'm also going to pinch the nose in a way that I can start to feel opening in the eye. So I'm opening the suture between the forehead, the frontal bone, and the nasal bone. And without necessarily stopping, allow yourself to slowly and methodically up the center and into your hairline. Really helps open the eyes, especially for those of us that wear glasses. And then once you've gotten to your hairline, release. Deb, I'd love to see you back against a wall to make sure you don't get strain in your... Okay, good. I can see that you're there now. Thank you. I was worried earlier. Good. Okay, I'm going to pin my forehead now. And I'm going to take the ball, and I really like to put my thumb in to make a dimple. That part goes against my nose. And I'm going to begin to lengthen my nose down, putting my weight towards my chin as opposed to smushing the weight against my face. There's not much of a roll. You're just spreading that joint. And then you... Very small movements. I want you to start to see with that little dimple that we just created, if you can get into the underside of your eyebrow for a moment, all right? You don't need to do a lot of pressure, just very light. And again, we're not going into the eyeball itself. However, you may gently block the eyeball with your other fingers and feel for that spreading. And also feel free to move the eyeball as you're there. Do that same thing under the center of the eyebrow. We're really getting, for me, under a bit of a cliff. Everyone's face is a little bit different shape. But I'm moving to the side so you can sort of, if you need a guide, we're getting underneath, and that thumb dimpling the ball helps you create that soft but very clear edge. And then you'll do that again on under the outer edge of the eyebrow. You're going to stay on the same side that you were just on, and we're going to pinch not just with the dimple of the thumb, but with both fingers and thumbs. So we've got a little narrow tool, and we're going to place that where the nose and the cheek come together. When you do that, you want to make sure that you're also supporting the other side of your nose. I'm supporting it so I don't push my nose off onto the other half of my face. And I'm working to come into what is the joint between my sinus and my nose, my nasal bone and my maxilla. And then I'm going to start to roll the ball out under the center of my eye. And I'm going to stop there and put pressure. And this is safe to put as much pressure as you like. We're not in the soft tissue of the eye. And then we're going to roll it out under the outer edge of the eye. We're going to roll it along the cheekbone and through your ear. And then rest and shake your arms out if you need. We're going to go to the exact same place, but roll a little bit down closer to the nostril. So into that that place where the nose wall comes into the cheek wall. I'm pinching the ball, so it's a very small piece to really stimulate that joint. Supporting with the opposite hand so I don't shove my nose over to the other side of my face like Picasso. I'm going to roll down towards my nostril a little bit. You may feel tension in the roots of your teeth. Then I'm going to roll the ball out under my center of my eye again. I'm going to pause there. I'm going to roll the ball out again underneath the outer edge of my eye and pause. And then I'm going to roll all and through my ear out into my scalp. Shake my arms out if I need. We're going to go under the sinus before we go over to the other side and get this area done. Again, I use my thumb so that I have a nice curve and angle thinness to what I'm using, and I come from above. It's like my arm comes over my head and above to help get underneath my cheek to get into my sinus. All right, so I'm going to come in as close to my nose and my nostril as I can. My thumbnail is against my face. I'm going to think about lifting up underneath the cliff of my cheek. It may be very, very stingy, and if it is, guess what? We need to go here more. I always love hearing that. That hurts? Great, let's do it again. Sort of. All right, I'm going to find another spot still underneath my cheekbone in my sinus, underneath the center of my eye. You might also feel this in the roots of your teeth. As you go further out, this will work on your jaw. We're going to find a third spot underneath the outer edge of the eye. And we're going under. It's like you're scooping underneath. And then we're going to go out. And I'm going to go out against my earlobe. And as far into my skull as I go around. If that means turning your head on the ball that's supporting you, that's fine. Good. And when you're ready, you can release that. Okay. So we're going to go back and do all of that. So we're going to go underneath the eyebrow, 3 places. Then we'll go into the nose. Okay. So underneath the eyebrow, possibly even blocking the eyeball itself. Going underneath the center of the eyebrow. Again, I have my thumb creating a bit of a dimple so that I can get underneath. Feel free to move the eyeball around. and underneath the outer edge of the eyebrow as well. And then release those. Okay, now let's go. We're going to use that marker-like sensation. I'm going to go against the side of the nose. So I'm going to reach into the side of the nose and I'm going to support with the other half. Then I'm going to roll out along that underneath the center of my eye and pause and let the ball stimulate that bone. Roll further out underneath the outer edge of the eye. Then I'm going to roll out all along that cheekbone through sort of the top third of the ear and all the way against the skull. I'm going to do the same thing, just a little bit lower. So closer to the nostril this time, just above it. And again, supporting the nose so that you don't end up with a crooked nose if it was straight before. These sutures need to be stimulated. The weight of the forehead crashing down onto these other bones creates unnecessary pressure. We're going to roll the ball out underneath the center of the eye. We're really speaking to the sinus right now. I believe the pressure from the ball helps the sinus getting sort of stuck with mucus. Roll the ball out underneath the outer edge of the eye. And then continue rolling the ball out and through the ear. And into the skull. One time we can touch our face. We're private in our room. Hands are clean. Okay, now's the fun bit. You're going to dimple the ball. You're going to come from sort of underneath. And if you have a better technique, these are just the ones that I've had since for the past 10 years, I've been playing with this. Yeah. I'm going to get as close to my nose as I can underneath the cliff of my cheek. If you're not sure where that is, use your fingers to find it. It will help you. And then I almost always like to assist, if I can find a way, with my second hand so that my hand grip doesn't bother me. My fingers don't bother me. I'm using the other hand to sort of press up the ball itself while the hand holding the ball is holding the shape for the ball. I have my best tool possible. And again, if it's stingy, only do so much. But it is very, very clear that it opens the sinus. Let's go underneath the center of the eye, underneath that sinus. Really good for the roots of your teeth as well. So we've moved out to the side slightly. Anytime now, instead of moving the eye, which isn't a bad thing, move the mouth. Then we're going to go a third time underneath the outer edge of the eye. Ooh, that one's tender, but that's going into your jaw and your teeth. So with our masks, we have a little extra tension there. And then we're going to roll out along the lobe, through the lobe, and into the skull. Good. Feels different already, right? Pretty amazing. Okay. So we're going to go into the ears and the jaw, and we're definitely going to spend some time around the mouth as well. But I'm going to turn sideways so you can see this. But if you just imagine that your ear is kind of like a clock circle, right? And we're really going to go radiate in and radiate out. We're going to go from the top first. So I'm going to pull the top of my down, and I'm going to roll the ball down into my fingers. I'm going to stay there and pressure that area. Make sure you have a good grip on your ear, and then I'm going to roll up. You're just trying to create space there. And we're going to do that all the way around the ear. Once you've done the top one, we're going to go on a slight diagonal. I'm going to pull the ear forward and down. I really get my fingers in it for a good grip. And I roll the ball just minimally down into my fingers and stay there for a moment. The ball really needs to stay still for a moment to allow the tissue to warm up. And then I'm going to roll the ball up and back. And then I'm going to release that. Very simple, very methodical. We're going to go from straight back. So I'm going to pull the ear straight forward. I'm going to roll from behind and into my fingers. Then I'm going to begin to roll the ball back. Feel for the spreading of skin almost. My best description for it. Oh, Deb, I see that. Oh. Uh-huh. All right, so I'm going to go from below and behind. I'm going to go up and in. So I'm pulling the ear forward and up. I'm going to roll it forward and up into my fingers. And then I'm going to spread it down and back away from it. My one ear is now so nice. Oh. We're going to stay on that side for one moment because the ear and the jaw are so very, very connected. Anytime you're in the jaw, even though the bone itself is quite strong, the joint is not. It's obviously, since so many of us have TMJD, you want to make sure that you support with one hand as you place the ball in the other. I very much, before you go into the jaw, let's go above it. Just slightly above the cheekbone, near the ear. And start to think of taking the ball down through the cheekbone and begin to come into the jaw joint. As you do, you want to have equal pressure or support on the opposite side with your hand. And you're going to think about coming down into the jaw towards the ground, towards the floor, your feet. Allow your mouth to gape open if that feels like it is happening. If you feel your jaw gripping, you are probably pressing too hard. Give yourself time. Even allow yourself to slightly open and close the jaw if that helps you relax the tissue. And then once you've gotten all the way down to the mandible, allow it to just release. So it has so much to do with opening the ear, the jaw. Okay, let's do that series on the one side so I don't get lost. Do the ear and the jaw, and then we'll come back and do more mouth. Right? So here we go. I'm going to pull the ear down. I'm going to roll down into it. I'm going to press into those fingers, and then I'm going to roll up away from the fingers. Release. I'm going to come in again from up and behind. I'm rolling in and down. My fingers are pulling the ear gently towards the center of the ear, radiating in. And radiate out, rolling, creating space, taking the tension from the skull away from the ear. And I'm going to release that. I'm going to come straight in from the back, again pulling the ear straight. I'm going to roll or press the ball forward into my finger. You notice there's not a lot of rolling of the ball. Make sure I have a good hold on my ear and back. Do one more, one last one. Slow, up and in on a diagonal, pulling the ear up and forward. Sternocleidomastoid is attached right here where you're starting to press in. Making sure I have a good grip on my ear, I'm going to begin to roll back and down. Then we'll start to go into the jaw when you're ready. Okay. So I'm going to start above my cheekbone, very near my ear. I'm going to hold on to the other side. I don't have to do it yet. But as I get below the cheekbone, I will eventually need to put that hand there to support the jaw. I'm starting to move or think of taking the ball down below the cheekbone and into the TMJ and temporomandibular joint. Put as much pressure on the supporting side as on the side that has the ball and doing the work, but I only put as much as my nervous system can take. Meaning if you're gripping your jaw just to make it go harder, that's too hard. It's a slow, intentional movement. Maybe moving your jaw, get yourself to relax and release. This one's quite tender on this side for me. All the way till you get down to the mandible. Okay, so if you saw the quick email before we got going today, and you have a cloth or you can grab your t-shirt and put it, it will keep you from slipping too much. Yeah. But a handkerchief is one of the best things, a bandana or anything like that. I just want to grab the inside of my mouth. It's not a big deal. You don't have to have anything. I'm going to grab the outer crease of my mouth. I'm going to take the ball and roll towards my fingers, and then I'm going to roll away. Right, so I'm going to put this in my mouth, which is going to make me sound really funny. I'm going to grab on, put the ball from my ear, and roll towards my fingers. And into my fingers. I'm going to make sure I have a good grip, and I'm going to roll away. I'm going to roll all the way into my ear again because it feels wonderful. So I tend to grip and re-grip and re-grip and re-grip as I do this, so you know, okay? We're going to do that again, but we're going to go just a little bit higher. So I'm going to grab the outer edge of my upper lip. And I'm going to roll down into it. And then I'm going to roll back up, aiming at the outer edge of my eye. A third one on this side before we go to the other side. So we're going to grab the outer under edge now and come into the fingers and then back out. So from the jawline, up and in, and then back out and down. Take note of how that feels. Difference between the two sides. Do that on the other side. We'll go into the outer crease of the lips, go out into the ear, or from the ear to those fingers and then back out. We'll go from the top. So holding on, rolling down into the fingers, and then back up and out, aiming for the outer edge of the eye, just outside of it. Okay, and we'll do the lower lip as well, near the outer edge. Coming in from the jaw and up to the fingers. And then taking it back out. We're just about done. Take the ball to your chin. Allow the jaw to hang. Allow the ball to roll underneath the chin. And press up and out. It's fine if it lifts your chin and changes your shape on the ball behind. And then roll the ball. Slide the ball down your throat and to your sternum. And one final roll. It's as if you were doing Yamuna and you finished with the spine. Take the ball to the base of your forehead and melt into the skull. Feel free to pin or block your opposite hand and make a nice, smooth roll, pausing along the way, up, through the forehead, and into the hairline. Good. All right. We have just done your face. It's an abbreviated version. Know that the graph paper that you use on your head in your mind could have been smaller grid and you could do more detail. We always use a soft pressure around the eyes. It's more important to move the ball and stay somewhere. And if you need to move your face instead of the ball so that you get more effect from it. Feel free, if you have questions, to let me know. I am putting on a body rolling class next Tuesday in between the two holidays. And I'd really like to, if y'all are interested, and I would need you to register so I know. I really want to step into the new year with a foot class. So New Year's Eve at 12:30, I'd like to do one. If you're interested, please let me know or please register. I just think stepping into 2021 with good feet might be a great way to start. I hope you guys have a great holiday and look forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, everybody.